Welcome to Growthcast, Insights for B2B leaders, where we uncover the strategies, stories, and solutions driving growth for B2B leaders. I'm your host, Alex, and in each episode, we'll dive deep with founders, CEOs, and industry experts to explore how to scale, innovate, and lead in today's competitive landscape. So let's get started. Today we have Arman, and nice to have you today. How are you?
Thank you very much for having me.
Great. How are you today?
Great, I'm doing fine. Yeah,
That's amazing. And
fantastic day.
where are you based in today's call? I know you're always traveling.
Yeah, I live in Austin, Texas. Right now, I'm Tampa Bay in Florida.
Amazing, amazing. So right in the sunlight. That's great. So
Exactly.
for our audience today on the call, do you mind doing a brief introduction around yourself, your background?
Sure, happy to do so. So, my name is Arman Eshraghi, CEO and founder at Qrvey. Qrvey is embedded analytics for SaaS. Uh, just to be extremely brief in 3 words, and it tells you what we do. We are embedded analytics and OEM business, and whom we are selling to. We are selling to SaaS companies, and that's normally the market we serve. And before Qrvey, that is relatively young company, and we came to market in 2020 and started selling the product. Before then, Qrvey, I also started another company that was named Logi Analytics, and it has been acquired twice since we sold it. And that company also was in data analytics world. And I started that company with my wife in 2000 actually. And then before then, Logi also, that was the first web-based reporting dashboarding software. Um, I started another company in 90s, early 90s, that, believe it or not, that was really when Windows came to market. And before then, that company, I started a company that was one of the first on MS-DOS. And that was when I was starting the university, and I started that company with some other, students. And I sold my shares at the end of the university time. So the company was at the point that I could sell my shares, and so that was kind of the journey from on my side, going from PC time, early PC times, and MS-DOS to Windows, and from Windows to web, and from web to cloud age, and having a cloud native solution, 100% microservices that Qrvey is.
Wow, that's really interesting background. So you've definitely been a serial entrepreneur from a young age till now. So that's really interesting. And given you've started so many businesses, sounds like you've had a few exits as well already as well. What do you think's the one thing that stayed consistent across all of them to be successful and grow those business to the point where they can actually be acquired?
Yeah, so starting actually with a real use case with a real customer, uh, I think that's the key factor, right? So that's really what uh, makes me feel like, I'm up to something that is real. Because when you really start your company with a good customer that has a very good use case that you can apply to many other companies like that, so you feel like, okay, I have a key customer. Definitely the first customer or the first customers are very strategic to any business, any software business. They need to be very visionary. They need to be patient, because when you start, probably for a couple of years, in our case, it's a very sophisticated, comprehensive platform. For some years, they are not going to really see a mature product, so they need to be patient with you. They need to really buy your vision, and support you in more than just as a customer, but also help you to get up and running and understand the use case very well through them. um, and I think any company that starts with a real use case, with the real customers, can simply just magnify, uh, you know, definitely multiple their chance of success, m- you know, by just doing that.
Yeah, definitely. No, I completely agree. And same question, but in the reverse, what's been the consistent challenge of growing each business that in every single business, the challenge has persisted and you always need to be overcoming?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the nature of really the market. It's the nature of the software business, the technology, and it's the nature of fast forwarding and ever changing kind of environment that we are in. in a way, all of these challenges that are introduced to every single company at any given time, doesn't matter how many times you do it, it also is an opportunity, right? So if it was not, if it was so easy to build an embedded analytics that's self-service and multi-tenant and is
Yeah.
cloud native and is deployed for, if it was such an easy task that we could do it within 6 months or 1 year, and it was so easy we could do it with a few people, then it would not have been also rewarding
Mhm.
in my view. The bigger the challenge is, can also it hint that also it's kind of can be more rewarding. So we like big challenges, we are not shying away from it, but we realize that there are a lot of moving parts, right? So when you really look at every company that I have had in the last 30 years of my professional careers, you really look around and you see that each one of them every single week has offered some new challenges, and you had to just be very, I would say, persistent and just, stay on the course and just, you know, many opportunities to quit every month, every year. But the key is, can you just, stay there and just continue and just solve these problems until you get to the end of the tunnel.
Definitely so. So resilience has to be the key where
Exactly,
you just keep
exactly.
pushing forward until it hits
Yeah.
the goal, really. Okay. That's really interesting. And now moving forward to more present times, like with Qrvey, you started it in 2020, massive year of a lot of challenges and change. There was booming and busts of lots of different businesses. How did you maneuver such a tough time?
Yeah, in fact, interestingly enough, when we started Qrvey, it was really 2016. And then it took us some years to really build the product with some handful number of customers, but not a lot of customers, to get to the point that we said, now we are ready to go to market. And that was 2020. So we hired our first full-time sales, team member in January, 2020. And that was, as you may recall, it was just a couple of months before
Yeah.
COVID happened. So, we set everything to start leasing the office space that was close to metro station so we can bring more people to the team, the right location for the office space. We set it up for revenue team, hired sales, marketing, the whole marketing and sales team, and we grow the team very rapidly during the first 2 months, right before COVID started.
Yeah.
And everything went actually remote after that, right? So nobody could come to the office. It changed drastically the way you do business.
Yeah.
We still continue to really experience a very good year in 2020. So we reached our goal of really bringing a good number of customers, and then 2021 was even better, and 2022 we even grow more, and we continued that kind of growth, very healthy growth since then. And but in my view, again, it's different. People do differently. In my view, uh, I'm shying away from heavy marketing um, until I have a really solid product. So I
Hmm.
would like to really emphasize more on the product and spend more of my budget on R&D until I
Hmm.
get to the point that is very much the product is solidified. And I'm not saying that product sells itself. I'm just saying that by selling more, you're adding to your problem if your product is not robust. So you
Yeah.
need to be at the point that you really can have a very solid product, and then you can accelerate. And it's kind of counterproductive to boost the sales and marketing budget and accelerate sales, uh, and then it's not ready, and then it will bite you back
Yeah.
in longer term, right?
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like you took those 4 years from 2016 to 2020 in terms of getting those small amount of clients, building that proof of concept, case studies, perfecting the product. And once it was perfected, you could heavily invest into the sales and marketing, which is really interesting. Given that now, I assume now you're investing more in sales and marketing. What channels do you use for that business growth?
Yeah, so essentially our revenue team, as you said, budget is increasing on the revenue side very much, and that's the growing part, the faster growing part of the business as you grow. Um, we always have done inbound sales mostly, and we have done uh, from inbound marketing and kind of inside sales style sales, right? So we have not really done a lot of, in a way that let's start doing cold calling. That has not been the emphasis on our side. It has been more really doing content marketing as much as we can and really providing the content so it can bring some inbound traffic and people
Yeah.
find us and then they come to us, and if it's the right match, and we do the education side as much as we can through webinars, demos, everything we can, and then they see that it's the right fit for what they want, and from their point then going through the demos, going through the trials, going through the sales. And it has been a technical sales for us, meaning that
Yeah.
for 90% of the technical acceptance, sales has been done. So only 10% that something might have happened, that maybe the priority change on their side, or maybe something that they discovered during the trial that it proved that maybe their data is not ready yet, or maybe whatever happened. But 90% of the cases when they are starting trying our software, we normally close the deals and we win.
Yeah.
So to us, that's the kind of process is more about really people reaching uh, to us and they see the technology and they try it.
Yeah. No, that's very impressive having a 90% close rate from trial. So congratulations around that. And that
Yeah.
purely shows how successful your product is and it actually does what it's meant to do. So it sells itself. In terms of future growth, and maybe you can lean towards some of your past experience as well. Of course, you're doing that organic content marketing, potentially paid ads. Have you ever done any cold outreach as well as a channel? Do you think that's something that you will be implementing in the future to be growing the business even more?
Yeah, so when you're a very new brand, it's less in, you know, maybe it's more effective when you have a very known brand when you do the kind of cold calling versus you are very new startup. That is harder. I'm not saying it will not work, but it's
Yeah.
definitely harder when you are a very unknown brand, very new, nobody knows this brand yet, has not seen it yet,
Oh,
not enough content out there, and then all of a sudden you just try to really just do the cold calling. So as you grow, then you can bring cold calling to the mix. You can really doing it differently. You can add
yeah.
some other maybe channels to it. And in our case, we have different ways and different um, channels to grow. For example, geographically, we have been very focused in the US
Yeah.
and Canada, definitely extending and expanding into other geographical areas. That can be one way to expand. In my previous company, it took us, 7, 8 years before we really expand to Europe, and from Europe we expanded to other regions. So it's just a matter of, are you ready for that stage, and then you go and grow in other geographical areas. Also, from functionality perspective, sometimes you introduced a new module, and that adds also, another layer. For example,
Yeah.
right now, there are some AI functions that we are adding, and there might be a day that we may say, there is a new kind of product here that we can really also expand our revenue, and it can
Mm.
even expand our reach. Um, then there are some technology partnerships that you establish, and that brings you to some channels that maybe never, you reached to that market before. And we are more tightening the integration with a Snowflake, with Databricks, with other data sources that we know, and with Oracle, for example, cloud,
Yeah.
and those kind of, new partnerships that we will establish in the future to really go into other markets, and through those partnerships and channels, then we can also start expanding.
Yeah. No, definitely. That's really interesting approach that you're taking. And you mentioned cold calling. Do you guys use cold email or LinkedIn outreach, or is that also a channel that you've not been utilizing?
And no, we do all of those. Actually, our marketing is very versatile. And on
Mm.
the digital marketing side, I believe that they are entertaining, plenty of channels, and including,
Yeah.
LinkedIn has been one of the channels that for years, since day one, we have been working with it. So definitely that's part of, what we do. We are very much focused on B2B and
Yeah.
SaaS companies. So in that case, since we are not selling to a bank, we are selling to a software company that sells to a bank, right? So that essentially is not like, but at the same time, sometimes inside large enterprise, you can find really software entities that act like a SaaS company. So in that case, a, a large enterprise can be, for us, a prospect, because they are like a SaaS company and they are
Yeah.
offering multi-tenant, products. So the key for us is multi-tenancy, and that's
Yeah.
how, we know that if we are a good fit or not. In a single tenant environment that you are just serving one customer, that's not a perfect fit for us, and Qrvey can be overkill.
Yeah.
But if really the product is multi-tenant and Qrvey needs to be the analytic layer for that SaaS product that supports multi-tenancy, that's probably a good fit if it's B2B.
Yeah, definitely. No, I completely agree with that. And off the back of that, of course, we're coming into 2025 now. What trends are you seeing in the market in regards to growth, demand for services? Of course, SaaSes are continuously growing. Do you think that's going to continue? What are some of the trends you're seeing in the market?
Yeah, I think, what we have learned is that uh, each of these layers is going to be added on top of the previous layer. The mainframe is still there, right? So you cannot say, hey, mainframe does not exist anymore.
Yeah.
Believe or not, is much bigger than anyone can imagine. The revenue and the transactions and the market still is there after so many years. That proves the point that when you have these layers, you add another layer on top of it, and then PCs coming and SaaS coming and AI apps coming and all of these LLM applications coming. So each of these are going to add one more layer on top of each other, but the previous one still can be a growing market for years to come.
Yeah.
The same metaphor I use for example, you have a laptop and then tablet comes, and on top of that, then mobile comes on top of that, and it still is not like your mobile phone is going to kill the laptop market,
Laptop.
and your
Yeah.
laptop or even PC does not exist. It's still, people use this desktop at this office that I'm right now, and this is
Yeah.
our customers site, but I can see a lot of desktop computers, I can see a lot of laptops, and
Yeah.
still those devices are there and they're functioning. So I would say that SaaS is a growing market. Still we see the growth, and not just growing market meaning that you see more SaaS, but also you see SaaS market is expanding, meaning that the existing SaaS players are growing. Their business is growing, their application, their products are growing, their products are maturing. And overall, from many different dimensions and aspects, that market size is growing and is serving people and helping people more than ever. Um, so yeah, so that's my view on SaaS market, that it continues to be a growing market, at least for foreseeable future.
Yeah, no, definitely that's a really great insight. Any other trends that you're spotting for 2025 specifically?
Um, I see, some of these like Gen AI in particular, and people who are trying to train different models for different use cases. I see that at the POC level. I haven't yet seen that as a kind of in a perfect product mode yet, but
Yeah.
I see a lot of POCs, a lot of demos, a lot of ideas, and those need to really just gain that maturity that at one point then you will see all of those popping up as a real product, right? And then it doesn't mean that AI has not impacted our life yet. We see a lot of impact already from AI. What I'm
Yeah.
saying is from a startup perspective, if you are a startup, you are starting a company, not just because Apple added this capability or Google introduced that. Forgetting about those few vendors out there in the market, what is the impact on the startup community, that we as startups, we come to market and we want to build new products that benefit the market and serves customers better than ever? What do we see as a trend? And I would say, probably AI is coming to fruition in the coming years. Is it going to happen in 25, the year that we see a lot of products, real products come to market and they can monetize well and they can really create a real business? I don't know, but definitely we see a lot of activities, POCs, and I think it will be regardless of if we see those real products out there or not. It will be a good year of a lot of improvements and moving forward for Gen AI in particular. When it comes to data and analytics in our field, that still is a good use case, a lot of demand around it. I think monetizing the analytics for SaaS companies, they just realized that more than ever, they can really get a good return on their investment and not just look at analytics as a cost center, but also they can look at it as a revenue center that they can really go there and monetize it and bring revenue. And their customers and their users, need better, more, and sometimes more advanced analytics and AI capabilities. So all of those are things that maybe has started 10, 20 years ago, but it still continues to grow every year.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's really interesting. Insight is definitely going to continue to grow, like you mentioned. And then around AI specifically, of course, that's been the buzzword of the last 2 years for 2025. What are your thoughts of it coming in? Do you think it's going to start replacing lots of jobs? Do you think people are going to need to upskill more in AI? What are your thoughts around it?
Well, you're asking a pragmatic person. So my answer would be probably I don't really foresee seeing changes happening overnight. I think many things that I have seen during my lifetime, it has taken time to take place. Believe or not, 10 years ago, I was talking about autonomous cars. And I was thinking that probably at that time, I thought that 5 years from that point, it will happen and every day people come to the streets and see those taxis that driving themselves.
Yeah,
Well, it's still 5 years past that point that I expected and still nothing happened in a
yeah,
meaningful way. And you can see some spots that you can take autonomous, cars, and but at the same time nobody can really deny the progress being made on that domain. And I think we will see again good progress in the next 5 years. But if you ask me now, based on the experience and the wrong bet you put in place 10 years ago, are you willing to bet 5 years from now
yeah,
the autonomous cars will be there? This time around, I'm not going to do it. I would say 5 years from now, probably it will be better shape than it is today.
yeah,
Progress will be constant and coming, but the changes are not always super fast to happen because it depends on a lot of the things. It depends on human being as one of the factors, that we are not super fast to adopt a technology. We need time to learn it. Also, from legal aspects, you need to have the right foundation. From technology perspective, sometimes there are some dependencies that just one technology improving by itself doesn't help. For example, mobile. Okay, it's a great device, but does it have enough connectivity, right? So you have to really improve the connectivity as well. Okay, the connectivity is great, but then the chip industry also needs to improve some other sensors. Maybe you need to work well. The camera needs to work well. The AI well. So everything, all of these dependencies, right? So I would say, it will happen gradually. I don't expect anything happen overnight and just 25 see a big radical change. But I think the direction is very clear to most people that definitely the next 10 years would be very exciting from
yeah,
technology perspective, and we are going to experience a totally more modern world. And it has been proven that technology so far, either we have been lucky or that's the trend, but it has improved the quality of our life.
yeah.
So I'm hoping for that to happen again in the next 10 years, and with better technologies we experience better quality of life for everyone.
Yeah, no, definitely. And especially on that last point, better quality of life. We're already seeing how AI is supporting with surgeries, etc. So hopefully it can continuously improve further so we can maybe diagnose ourselves faster of some more serious diseases. But also in the business, potentially I can diagnose the aspect of this is the number one thing you should be focusing on in order to grow, which I think is one of the best segue into the next question in terms of your founder, CEO. What are some of the most important metrics to you when you're focusing on that growth? From my experience, a lot of CEOs, founders, key strategic leaders, they focus more on of the fluff of the nice to haves as opposed to the main things in order to grow the business. And considering you've had so many successful exits, what are some of the metrics you think are most important to have that business succeed and grow?
What is heartwarming for me, honestly, to see that customers are using the software and they are happy with the software. And that's really, to me, the most important metric that makes me hopeful. Or on the contrary, if a customer cannot really utilize the technology very well, or they are not successful, uh, partially we are guilty of it, one way or the other. And I really, that encourages me to really work harder to accomplish that goal and get to the point that all of our customers are really happy and satisfied and successful. So delivering success to customers, to me, is really the most important metric, and every other metric that you look at, to me, is tactical, right? So if you look at look at the cash, that's a good metric, cash collection or cash flow or whatever. And look at the profitability, look at the growth, look at the cost of customer acquisition, look at the, lifetime value. Yes, all of those metrics are very important. But to me, none of them is going to work if your customers are not happy. So
Yeah.
the very first thing that has to be in place and has my focus and has my kind of, attention is customer satisfaction, customers' happiness, customer success. And then everything else, to me, is important. And I look at them, but they are very much following that leading indicator. And as long as I hear from customers and they are successful and they are happy, I'm not really worried about other metrics, and I know we can fix those if there is any issue. And if they are in a good shape, still, it doesn't make me happy until I learn from customers that they are happy. Just because I have a very good ratio today that our LTV is great, or the CAC, or cost of customer acquisition, is really low, it by itself is not something that I would say perfect. I'm done. I'm not until I hear again the customer success stories. So everything is kind of around that metric. And I think I'm happy with what I see. And still, there are a long way to go for every business, including Qrvey, to elevate that success level, and just making sure that we are maximizing the value that our customers are getting from our product and technology. And that's a never-ending kind of, journey, because doesn't matter how much value they get from Qrvey, I want them to get higher value than that. If they are happy, I want them to be happier. So that's a kind of never ending. That's what any major, any good, any quality, any solid business does, right? So if you look at Apple, it's not like they say this iPhone is the last iPhone we release because everyone is happy, so starting next year, no iPhone anymore. That's not the
Yeah.
idea. The idea is that we will continue just making it better and better, even if it's great today.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think that's a great approach to take. And what's some of the things that you install into your business to make sure the customer's happy? Do you have like monthly or bi-monthly catch-up calls, reviews? How do you go about that so you know the customer's happy or know where to be improving?
Yes.
Is that what you do?
Yes, that's exactly what we do. Yeah.
Amazing. Perfect. And then just to round off the podcast, what's one thing you could leave our audience or one key message or piece of advice in regards to growing their business and continuing being successful?
Um, I would say, if they love what they do and they enjoy doing that, that's the best, because essentially they are serving customers, they are growing their business, they are working with employees, they are, as a CEO founder, I really, think that if you love what you do, then you can stay on course, and this is a challenging job and you can get it done and be successful. And uh, and uh, I feel lucky that I'm working with people that I like to work with. And I think if you are working with people that you like working with, you are lucky too.
Yeah.
And just, treasure that, because that's one of the most important things that, you can have.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think people is what grows the business, right? So
Yeah.
that's an amazing final thought from your side. Perfect. And then for our audience, where can they find you, Arman?
Sure. So I'm always, available and happy to hear from them on LinkedIn. Uh, that Also, my email address is very simple. Arman, Arman, 5 letter at Qrvey.com. That is 5 letter too, Qrvey.com. And then I'm on Twitter as well, or X platform, I would say.
Amazing, perfect. So I'll make sure to leave that all in the description. So if anyone wants to contact Arman and pick his brains, more than happy to make you that connection. But otherwise, thanks so much for listening to today's episode of Growthcast and see you next time. Thank you.